Chapter 61, 61, The Last Seedling. In the time that followed, the two classes sent one after another to the stage for duels, never stopping. By 10 o'clock in the morning, Class 1 of Grade 11 only had 4 people left. Class 6 of Grade 12 still had 18 people. The difference in numbers was very big. Clearly, in terms of average class strength, Grade 11 Class 1 was far behind Grade 12 Class 6 and not at the same level. The main reason was that school had just started not long ago, and the freshmen in Grade 11 Class 1 had practiced too little, many of their talents had not been fully realized. Bro Han, your class is down to 4 people. It looks like I've definitely won the meal we bet on. The homeroom teacher of Grade 12 Class 6, a middle-aged trendy man with a short ponytail, looked at Han Yuanfeng with some pride. Han Yuanfeng smiled calmly and responded, "Don't speak too soon, let's just wait and see." As the homeroom teacher of Grade 11 Class 1, he was very clear about one thing. That was that only Lin Zikan, Wang Shijia, Lu Gang, and He Yu were the true strength of Grade 11 Class 1. As for the students who went before them, they were mere cannon fodder who were there to participate. No matter how badly they lost, it would not greatly affect the outcome. The real contest was just beginning. Soon, Han Yuanfeng turned to He Yu, who was eagerly warming up, and said, "He Yu, you're up next." "Received." He Yu responded. Then he leaped onto the martial stage and looked at his opponent with a rather silly grin and said, "My fists have been itching for a fight. May I ask, Senior, are you ready to face my rock-hard fists?" "Idiot!" Seeing his childishness, the senior opposite him blurted out an insult. The word wasn't very hurtful, but it was extremely insulting. He Yu instantly turned red with anger. Damn it, hindering someone's swagger is like killing their parents. This senior was very insensitive, he would be defeated in seconds and then humiliated severely. Once both had taken their places, the referee quickly called out, "Duel, begin." No sooner had the sound faded than He Yu sprinted forward with a powerful kick, swiftly closing the gap and knocking his opponent off the martial stage with a spin and a seated bump. The manner in which he defeated his opponent was utterly humiliating. Afterward, still standing at the edge of the martial stage, he gloatingly hurled trash talk at his opponent. "No way, that's all you've got? Where do you get off calling someone an idiot? You're the trash here. Referee, this is a malicious insult to the opponent and a violation of martial spirit. I request that he be disqualified." The homeroom teacher of Grade 12 Class 6 complained to the referee. Upon seeing this, the referee immediately looked at He Yu and sternly warned, "Young man, please watch your language. You must not maliciously insult your opponent." As soon as He Yu heard this, he was immediately displeased and retorted, "Can you stop being so hypocritical? When that guy called me an idiot just now, why didn't you warn him?" Referee, warning for the second time. He Yu wanted to snap back, but before he could say anything, Han Yuanfeng shouted from below, "He Yu, talk less, do more. You need to learn to express your opinions with real actions on the martial stage." At that moment, Han Yuanfeng was feeling quite annoyed. Just now, the homeroom teacher of Grade 12 Class 6 actually requested the referee to disqualify He Yu? What did that mean? Just to win a bet for a meal, had he abandoned all martial ethics? What sort of person does that? Soon, the next duel began. The opposing contestant was a senior almost 1.9 meters tall, with very developed muscles and a body full of explosive strength. Facing such a towering opponent, He Yu didn't falter at all but used his exquisite boxing and kicking skills to defeat him in less than 5 minutes and easily secured a victory. Afterward, he grew even more vigorous with each battle and knocked down 3 more opponents in a row. Adding the 2 from before, he had achieved a 5-kill streak. It wasn't until his 6th individual match that he finally lost the duel, begrudgingly, due to exhaustion. By that time, Grade 11 Class 1 was down to 3 people. Grade 12 Class 6 still had 13 people. Wang Shijia, you're up. Received. About an hour later, Wang Shijia's performance was over as well. He did even better than He Yu, having defeated 10 people in a row, until he lost due to exhaustion during his 11th match. And now, the number of remaining students in both classes was nearly the same. Class 1 of Senior Year 1 has 2 remaining. Class 6 of Senior Year 2 has 3 remaining. Liu Gang, it's your turn. Roger that. Liu Gang responded and instantly leaped onto the martial stage. In less than 10 minutes, he dispatched the opposing team's 2 top players at light speed, leaving them with only 1 person standing, performing brilliantly. Shu Ji, the top combat powers of your class don't seem up to snuff. It looks like the meal we bet on is mine for the taking. Seeing how the situation was greatly in his favor, Han Yuanfeng confidently said to the homeroom teacher of Class 6 of Senior Year 2. The other party chuckled in response, that's not necessarily the case. After speaking, he looked towards the sole remaining member of his class, a dark-skinned fatty, and said with a smile, Wang Jinhe, it's your turn to perform. Soon, this dark-skinned fatty named Wang Jinhe took the stage. His body was as round as a ball, moving extremely slowly. It took him almost half a minute just to walk from the audience seating to the martial stage. He was like an aged turtle. Han Yuanfeng looked at the dark-skinned fatty on the stage, somewhat puzzled. Shu Ji, are you sure he's a student from your class? I've never seen him before. The homeroom teacher of Class 6 of Senior Year 2 explained, he transferred to my class this semester, of course, you haven't seen him. Han Yuanfeng nodded and said no more. Elsewhere, Shen Qinghan leaned towards Lin Zikan, her face close to his ear, whispering doubtfully, Ziai Chen, he's really fat, can someone this fat even be admitted into the martial arts class? I'm also curious, let's see how he performs against Liu Gang in the upcoming showdown. We should know what's going on after we watch. Lin Zikan said calmly. When he first arrived at the gymnasium, he had immediately noticed this dark-skinned fatty and wondered why there would be such a fat student in the martial arts class. Logically, with the huge amount of exercise the students of the martial arts class do every day, there should be no one that overweight. Was he a connection that got in through the back door? But that didn't seem likely. After all, he was the last to compete. Meaning he was supposedly the strongest in his class. Before long, the duel on stage began. The dark-skinned fatty stood still like a mountain, showing no intention of taking action. Facing this bulky opponent, Liu Gang didn't flinch and charged straight at him. His primary tactic was sheer brawn. Short punches, hook punches, side kicks, flying kicks, sweeping legs, elbow strikes, knee strikes, rushing shoulder, Iron Mountain lean. Liu Gang used all 18 martial arts skills, attacking the dark-skinned fatty furiously. However, no matter how fiercely he attacked, he could not break through the opponent's defense. Too much fat. The flesh was too thick. He couldn't stir him. Liu Gang grew anxious, but he had no plan left and could only continue to increase his strength, attacking the dark-skinned fatty like mad. Unfortunately, he still couldn't inflict any damage. Finished? If you are done, it's my turn. The dark-skinned fatty grinned, then grabbed Liu Gang's shoulder and effortlessly lifted him up before casually tossing him off the martial stage. With Liu Gang's defeat, both classes were down to their last member. Han, even you are down to 1 person, it looks like I'm winning, the homeroom teacher of Class 6 of Senior Year 2 said proudly to Han Yuanfeng. Han Yuanfeng also felt he was losing. Even Liu Gang, one of the best in his class, seemed as weak as a chick in front of the dark-skinned fatty, easily lifted and thrown off the martial stage. The remaining Lin Zikan probably didn't stand a chance against this dark-skinned fatty either. Ah, outplayed. Han Yuanfeng shook his head and sighed in frustration, saying with a rueful smile, I was wondering why you dared to make a bet like that with me, turns out you had this ace up your sleeve, such lack of martial honor. The homeroom teacher of Class 6 of Senior Year 2 laughed and said, haha, it's mutual, Han. Didn't you also bet with me because you thought you could win easily? We're all the same. Hearing this, Han Yuanfeng felt his heart bleeding. The bet he made with the teacher of Class 6 of Senior Year 2 was that the loser had to treat the entire winning class to a meal at the restaurant across from the school. Treating an entire class of students to a meal is not cheap, it would cost at least half a month's salary. The more Han Yuanfeng thought about it, the more he regretted it. If he had known, he wouldn't have made the bet. It would have been much better simply to have a normal friendly match. P.S. Begging for monthly and recommendation votes. Chapter 62, full of question marks. It's over, our class is going to lose. What's with that dark and chubby senior? How can he be so strong? Could he really be just a regular student? Sigh, I thought our class could exchange a few moves with the second-year key class, but it turns out we can't even beat a regular second-year class. Seeing Liu Gang powerless and being carried off the martial stage by the black chubby senior with just one hand, the students of Class 1, Grade 1 felt very disappointed, as if they had been dealt a heavy blow. Amid the crowd, Wang Shijia immediately approached Liu Gang as he returned to the team and asked, Liu Gang, how did it feel? Liu Gang was obviously disappointed, but still maintained his confidence, that Fat Senior is very strong, beneath that fat is all muscle, he can take a hit and dish it out. I can't handle him at all right now. But just give me another 6 months to train and grow, by the second semester of first year, I will definitely be able to pin him to the ground and rub his face in it. To put it bluntly, that Fat Senior is only using his size to his advantage, taking advantage of everyone's strength not being developed yet to be a nuisance. Once we all get stronger, he will just be a moving target. The more Liu Gang talked, the more confident he became, completely dismissing the black chubby senior, even though he had just been tossed off the martial stage like picking up a tiny chick. Listening to him, Wang Shijia nodded in agreement and then asked, so, what do you think are the odds of Lin Zikan winning in the upcoming match? 0 chance. Liu Gang didn't even have to think before he replied. He quickly explained, Lin Zikan is very strong, much stronger than me, but that's overall. In terms of strength alone, he's not much stronger than me and won't be able to break through that Fat Senior's defense. Indeed. Wang Shijia nodded in agreement. I remember during the physical test, his one-handed lift was only 30 kilograms more than yours, not much stronger. At this moment, the 2 top students from Nangwon City didn't think Lin Zikan had a chance of winning the upcoming match. It wasn't that they thought Lin Zikan was weak, but that they believed the black chubby senior on stage was stronger. They considered him an invincible newbie village boss in front of all these first-year freshmen. A girl nearby couldn't listen anymore and scoffed at them. Just because you 2 are trash doesn't mean everyone else is like you, have some shame, will you? Wang Shijia and Liu Gang glanced at the girl and saw that she was a little fan sister of Lin Zikan, so they couldn't be bothered to pay attention and walked away to avoid arguing with her. The 2 thought the little fan sister was brainless, a fanatic, with her head filled with the idea that her brother was the strongest in the universe, and it was pointless to waste words arguing with her. Elsewhere, Shen Qinghan looked at Lin Zikan with watery, curious eyes and asked, Xiao Chen, did you see it? What's so special about that chubby senior? Yes, I've noticed. Lin Zikan explained simply to her, that chubby senior isn't traditionally fat, but rather a muscle man wrapped in a layer of fat. Aside from lacking agility, he maxed out his strength and defense. A muscle man wrapped in a layer of fat. Shen Qinghan became even more puzzled and asked, but that doesn't make biological sense. Is it even possible to train a body like that? Lin Zikan, maybe he's fallen into bad habits, gorging and leading to a ruined figure, or he could be ill, or some other reason. I'm not exactly sure. While they discussed this, Han Yuanfeng came over from the front, smiling at Lin Zikan, and said, "Ziyi Chen, it's your turn." "All right." Lin Zikan responded and got up to head towards the martial stage. However, Han Yuanfeng didn't rush him onto the stage but asked him to wait a moment and began a chat. "Ziyi Chen, that chubby senior on the stage, even among the key classes, is one of the top students. Normally, you wouldn't find a student with that kind of ability in a regular class. I don't know what's going on this year, to suddenly have such a strong student transfer to a regular class. So, don't be disheartened if you lose later. It's normal to lose to him. It would be abnormal to win." Han Yuanfeng spoke solemnly, "Anyway, just stay in the right mindset, stay on the stage as long as you can. This will be a valuable real fight for you, where you can accumulate a lot of experience, so don't focus too much on winning or losing." "Lin Zikan, I will win." Han Yuanfeng. "Forget it, young people don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. All that talking just now was for nothing. Well, it's good to have confidence. But the higher the expectations, the greater the disappointment. I hope he won't be too shattered when he loses later." Thinking this, Han Yuanfeng stretched out his hand and patted Lin Zikan on the shoulder, saying, "Good luck." "Okay." Lin Zikan, a man of few words, briefly replied and then walked towards the martial stage. Under everyone's gaze, he leapt onto the martial stage with a single bound. As soon as his handsome face appeared on the martial stage, a chorus of adoring sighs quickly erupted from the girls of Class 2, Grade 11. They all talked about how good-looking the younger classmate was, each wearing a smitten smile on their face. Among them, several senior girls who had advanced straight from junior high were eagerly introducing Lin Zikan to those who didn't know him, recounting the legends of Lin Zikan's days in junior high. Apart from the adoring sighs of the senior girls, there was also a multitude of cheers and shouts of encouragement from his classmates. Even those boys who normally envied him and didn't like him were now shouting and cheering for him. After all, at this moment, Lin Zikan was the last hope of their class, the hope of everyone. As classmates from the same class, everyone wanted him to win to share the glory and the loss. On the martial stage, the black and chubby senior, hearing the adoring sighs and cheers around him, couldn't help expressing his envy. Being handsome is so great, getting all the attention from the girls. True beauty is the beauty of the soul, Lin Zikan consoled, though dishonestly. However, the black and chubby senior, with really low emotional intelligence, disagreed. "Junior, you're wrong. In this dog-eat-dog world, only the strongest are considered beautiful." After saying this, he suddenly became thoughtful. "Actually, this game of life is quite balanced. Take me, for instance. I may not be good-looking, but on the other hand, my strength is substantial." No sooner had he finished these words than a little fan of Lin Zikan below shouted, "But Ziyi Chen is both handsome and strong in a fight." At that moment, the black and chubby senior was speechless and stunned. To relieve his own embarrassment, and also to show off before the fight, he quickly grinned and said, "Junior, I do not play the bully. In the upcoming fight, I'll stand still and let you have 10 moves just so you and your little fans won't feel aggrieved afterward and accuse me behind my back of taking advantage of my size, thus winning dishonorably." "Take advantage of size? So as not to feel aggrieved afterward?" Lin Zikan found these words rather familiar. After a moment's thought, he realized that they closely resembled what Han Yuanfeng had said with a show-off attitude during their martial arts team practice sessions in their junior high days. "Are you both ready?" Seeing that the two had taken their positions, the referee in the middle of the martial stage asked. "Ready," both responded in unison. Upon hearing this, the referee immediately raised his right hand high and then chopped it down quickly. "The contest begins." The moment the referee's words fell, the black and chubby senior shouted with an air of superiority. "Come on, Junior. Your senior, will stand still and let you have 10 moves. Attack me with all your might." "Okay." Lin Zikan nodded and agreed. Then, under the puzzled gaze of everyone present, he calmly walked up to the black and chubby senior, stopped in front of him, and casually lifted his right leg to kick him off the martial stage. At that moment, the black and chubby senior, still tumbling on the ground, had a head full of question marks. P.S. Bowls out, asking for monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 63, 63, The Strongest Student in School History. Ah! When everyone saw Linziken casually kick his opponent off the martial stage with a single kick, the same sound buzzed through everyone's mind. The chubby guy actually lost? Kicked off the martial stage by a freshman? How is that possible? All the people present were shocked, their faces full of disbelief, and for a moment, they thought they were hallucinating. Among them, a senior girl was so startled that she opened her mouth into an O shape, big enough to fit in 2 cucumbers, and with her eyeballs almost popping out, her expression was extremely exaggerated. How is it possible? How could I possibly be kicked off the martial stage so easily by you? This is unscientific. The chubby guy rolled more than 10 meters on the ground before coming to a stop, and as soon as he stopped, he sat up and yelled in disbelief. He pondered how he weighed over 250 kilograms, with the soles of his shoes being rough and anti-slip, granting him great friction with the ground usually, even when several people pushed him, they couldn't move him. How could a freshman possibly kick him off the martial stage? This was simply unreasonable. However, no matter how unreasonable it seemed, the fact had indeed occurred before everyone's eyes. Ziyi Chen, did you hold back during the physical test? After recovering from his shock, Han Yuanfeng immediately looked at Linziken on the stage and asked. Linziken lied without batting an eye, yeah, I did hold back, but not by much. The reason I could kick my senior off the martial stage just now is mainly due to my leg's naturally explosive power. Han Yuanfeng didn't doubt his words and quickly asked, Ziyi Chen, how much weight can you lift with one hand now? Linziken answered calmly, I tested it at home last week, it's about 400 kg. 400 kg. Upon hearing such a number, Liu Gang, who was in the class team, was totally stunned. You can lift a 400 kilograms barbell with one hand. I have God-given strength, and the most I can lift is just over 310 kilograms. Who's the one with God-given strength then? While Liu Gang was feeling devastated, Wang Shijia wasn't doing any better, with a look of questioning his life plastered across his face. He had previously thought about surpassing Linziken before graduating high school, to pin Linziken down on the martial stage and rub him harshly in front of the whole class. But now, he realized that he was simply dreaming. Neither in terms of the current situation nor potential did he match up to the other. How could he possibly make a comeback? The gap not widening would already be something to be thankful for. Not far away. He came back to his senses from his daze, his face full of disbelief. Ah! He can lift a 400 kilograms barbell with one hand? Is this really a first-year high school student? Has Ziyi Chen been playing the fool all along? Li Chuxin looked at Shen Qinghan next to her with a puzzled face and asked, Han, I really can't understand why Ziyi Chen wasn't the top scholar of our city. Did he have diarrhea during the middle school exams? Xiao Chen felt a bit unwell during the middle school exams and didn't perform well. Also, he trained very hard during the summer vacation after the exams. He improved a lot at that time. Shen Qinghan considerately covered up the inconsistencies about Linziken, doing the only thing she could to help him. As for why Linziken was so strong, even she, as his childhood friend, didn't know. The one thing she knew more than the others was that Linziken was much stronger than he usually showed. She still vividly remembered the incident from years ago, when they were followed by a human trafficker on their way home from school. Linziken, who was only 8 years old at that time, punched the adult trafficker to the ground with a single blow, leaving him paralyzed, spewing blood from his mouth, and gasping for breath. Ah, Ziyi Chen Jr., you're too amazing, so handsome and skilled in combat, senior sister feels like you've nearly stolen her soul. Zi Chen Jr., I want to be your friend, can I add you on WeChat? Zi Chen Jr., I'm your fan, I've been since you were in the first year. Lin Zikin had just stepped down from the martial stage, and immediately several senior sisters surrounded him. He didn't give the senior sisters his WeChat, and with a poorly made excuse, he forcefully slipped away. He didn't want too much contact with unfamiliar girls. Zi Chen, you're something all right, pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger for so long. You've put on quite a show today, must be feeling awesome, hey. No sooner had Lin Zikin walked towards his class team than He approached him with a teasing remark. Lin Zikin laughed and said, it was quite thrilling. However, he only said it was thrilling with his lips. In reality, he didn't find it thrilling at all. What he found thrilling was single-handedly defeating an entire class on his own. That way, he could experience the highest level of showing off in front of others, and also advance the progress bar of the survival of the fittest achievement, which would be perfect. But like today, where he was practically an onlooker for the entire event and only got to participate in the last fight, to be honest, there was no sense of thrill at all, rather, it felt like a waste of time. I hope that next time we fight a key class, the opponents will be stronger and get their class knocked down to the last standing sooner, so that I can enter the stage and sweep across. Lin Zikin hoped silently in his heart. In the time that followed, each class formed a line, facing each other and walking forward, just like the handshake segment after a basketball game in the past life, a gesture of sportsmanship. While shaking hands with the opponents, Lin Zikin would smile and say, well played, maintaining an image of someone strong yet gracious. After the handshake session, the two class teachers stood together, chatting idly. As the conversation drifted, Han Yuanfeng called Lin Zikin over to talk about his amazing performance on the martial stage with the class teacher of Class 6 Senior Year 2. Brother Feng, your student Zi Chen is amazing, almost feels like he can compare with Wu Tiancheng back in his freshman year. The class teacher of Class 6 Senior Year 2 couldn't help but exclaim as they recalled the moment when Lin Zikin kicked the chubby kid off the martial stage. Han Yuanfeng smiled and said, that's not quite true. Wu Tiancheng was inhuman. Back in his freshman year, he almost scared the principal to death, performing incredibly strongly. Teacher, who is this Wu Tiancheng? Hearing the conversation, Lin Zikin couldn't help but ask curiously. Han Yuanfeng replied, Wu Tiancheng is a senior who graduated a few terms ago. In his freshman year, he managed to clear the top class of senior year students, exhibiting exceptional talent that even frightened many school leaders. I can't quite remember his physical test data from back in his freshman year, but I recall it was much higher than yours. Anyway, that guy was a once-in-a-century genius. To this date, he is the strongest student in the history of Shanghai High School, and he left the second place far behind. After finishing his comment, Han Yuanfeng looked at the class teacher of Class 6 Senior Year 2 and asked, by the way, AG, do you remember Wu Tiancheng's data from the first physical test in his freshman year? Of course, I remember, said the class teacher of Class 6 Senior Year 2. 100 meters in 6.12 seconds, a standing vertical jump of 3.96 meters, and a single-handed lift of a 650 kg barbell. Lin Zikin listened to these three sets of data and realized that the school's strongest student as a freshman was almost as strong as he was in the summer of his 6th grade in primary school. Couldn't help but admit, genuinely impressive, worthy of the title of the strongest in school history. So, how do you feel hearing these figures, are you scared a bit? Asked Class 6 Senior Year 2's class teacher with a grin looking towards Lin Zikin. Lin Zikin nodded and said, a little scared. P.S. Bowls out, seeking monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 64, 64, I am not a maid. All students who just sweated a lot, go to the shower room and take a cool bath, change into clean clothes, and we'll head to Mingxiang restaurant across from the school for dinner soon. Seeing that it was almost time for dinner, Han Yuanfeng didn't continue chatting with grade 2, class 6's homeroom teacher and turned to shout at the students in his class. On hearing this, several students whose clothes were soaked with sweat, one after another took out the clothes they had prepared in advance and went to the shower room to bathe. Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan didn't go, both had hardly sweated and were very clean. About 10 minutes later, all the students who went to the shower room to bathe had come out. When Han Yuanfeng saw that everyone was ready, he told everyone to grab their things and set off for the meal. Before leaving, he turned to look at the grade 2, class 6 homeroom teacher with a smile and said, "AG, after I've taken the students from my class for the meal, I'll send you the bill on WeChat, and you'll remember to pay up. Don't worry, I'll honor the bet and I won't stiff you on the bill. Quick, everyone, say thank you to Brother G. Thank you. Brother G." The students of grade 1, class 1 called out laughing and jesting. Mingxiang Restaurant. First floor. Han Yuanfeng had booked a large private room with 3 big tables, just enough to seat the whole class. During the meal, everyone was recalling the showdowns at the gymnasium. Talking about who in the class had performed well. Talking about which opponents were particularly tough. Among those, the most talked about match was Lin Zikan's fight against the fat dark-skinned kid. With the previous scene of Liu Gang being instantly knocked out by the fat dark-skinned kid as a contrast, the moment Lin Zikan directly kicked the fat kid off the martial stage was very shocking. Every time they remembered this match, the word awesome automatically sprang to mind. Everyone but Liu Gang, that is, in his mind, the words that sprang up were numb. One moment he was knocked out by the fat dark-skinned kid, and the next, Lin Zikan knocked out the fat kid. This 1-2 punch effectively turned him into a backdrop. It hurt a lot. Who understands the pain of accidentally becoming a backdrop and then being a hot topic of conversation? Liu Gang was inwardly raging. On the other side, Han Yuanfeng stood up from his seat and raised a glass of beer towards everyone in the private room, saying, "Thanks to Zi Chen, we get to freeload this meal today. Come on, everyone stand up and toast to Zi Chen. Zi Chen is awesome. Awesome. Big Brother Chen is mighty." The students each picked up their drinks and laughingly toasted Lin Zikan. Those in the class who had been jealous and disliked him before were now all smiling, wanting to be on good terms with him. The strength that Lin Zikan had displayed on the martial stage was too formidable, and he would surely become a high and mighty genetic integrator in the future, with immeasurable prospects. Everyone realized this and wanted to establish a good relationship with him, thinking maybe in the future they could cling to the coattails of an old classmate. After all, first-year high school students were usually 16 years old, almost adults. Even if sometimes juvenile and childish, they could still see the basic relationships of interest and disadvantage quite clearly. They weren't foolish enough to shun a genius in favor of making an enemy. "Big Brother Chen, how do you usually train at home? Do you have any secrets? Speaking of which, Big Brother Chen, I don't think we've added each other on WeChat yet, let's do that. Big Brother Chen, I just posted the video of your fight with the fat senior on my Moments, and my sister saw it and said she'd like to meet you. She's asking for your WeChat now, by the way. My sister is a student in the senior martial arts elite class at our school." After the toast, the conversation centered around Lin Zikan, as many turned to chat with him, complimenting him in every sentence, wanting to get closer to him. Lin Zikan felt that everyone was overly enthusiastic, making him feel quite uncomfortable and a bit annoyed. But considering it was a dinner party and everyone might only be this enthusiastic for a moment, he didn't appear too aloof. Instead, he responded with a smile, albeit intermittently. During this time, Shen Qinghan, sitting next to him, spoke very little, spending most of her time silently listening to everyone else's conversations. When his drink was finished, she would refill it for him. When she saw that there were shrimps on the table, she peeled a few and placed them in his bowl. She appeared both demure and domesticated, perfectly embodying the girl next door fantasy of many of the guys. Tisk, tisk, King Han, you're just too domesticated. Whoever marries you in the future is truly blessed. To say that his ancestors' graves would be smoking wouldn't be an exaggeration, someone teased after they saw Shen King Han peeling shrimps for Lin Zikin. Li Chuxin heard this and immediately looked at Lin Zikin with a teasing smile. Ziai Chen, that's a blessing of 3 lifetimes for you. Lin Zikin merely smiled without speaking a word. Shen King Han's face turned red instantly, embarrassed, she lowered her head and silently ate, pretending as if nothing had happened. Fortunately, the topic quickly passed. Those who were eating ate, those who were drinking drank, and those who were chatting chatted. No one continued to pay attention to Shen King Han. Shen King Han breathed a sigh of relief. Half an hour passed, and everyone had their fill of food and drink. But no one was in a hurry to leave. Instead, they chatted away in the private room, the conversation lively and impassioned. Shen King Han picked up an orange, intending to peel it for Lin Zikin to help relieve the greasiness after the meal. Just as she was halfway through peeling it, a sudden urgency to urinate overcame her. It came on very unexpectedly. And with great urgency. Why does my body have this defect? It's really so annoying. Shen King Han felt extremely troubled in her heart. Then, she leaned close to Lin Zikin, whispering to him. Xiao Chen, I need to use the restroom. Sure, go ahead. Lin Zikin answered with a sound. Shen King Han put down the orange in her hand, efficiently crossed her tight-knit legs, and quickly walked towards the restroom outside. When she arrived at the restroom door, she overheard a conversation coming from inside. The voices sounded very familiar. They were 2 girls from her class talking. Did you see that just now? Shen King Han was refilling Lin Zikin's drink and peeling shrimps for him. Really playing up the sycophant, acting like a maid, serving her master at every moment. It's not surprising. How else do you think she got into our top class? Isn't it by always sucking up to Lin Zikin, doing things to please him, and then relying on his connections to backdoor her way in? I'm so envious. If only I had a genius childhood friend like Lin Zikin. What's there to envy? It's just a student time fling. Once Lin Zikin enters society and meets all kinds of outstanding girls, he definitely won't pay attention to her anymore. Indeed, with such a huge gap in their abilities, they're bound to drift apart in the future. Outside the restroom, Shen King Han felt incredibly hurt by the conversation she overheard. She really wanted to go in and say that she was Lin Zikin's childhood friend, not his maid. But her excessively timid nature made it impossible for her to do so. Just as she was about to turn and leave for a restroom on another floor, the 2 girls came out. Upon seeing her at the door, their expressions changed slightly and they felt awkward. Then, as if they hadn't seen her, they quickly walked past her. I'm not a maid, I'm a childhood friend. Shen King Han pursed her lips, her voice filled with meekness and sadness, and an increasingly heavy repression. P.S. Bowls up. Asking for monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 65, 65, Giant Aberrant Rat Transformation. About an hour later, the dinner party came to an end. Teachers and students all went back to their homes, each finding their own mothers. On the way home, Lin Zikin noticed something was off with Shen King Han's mood and stopped to ask, Han Han, you seem a bit down. Did something happen? No, just feeling a bit drowsy, Shen King Han said with a forced smile on her face. Lin Zikin could tell she was putting on a brave face, but seeing that she didn't want to talk, he didn't press further. As they passed by a supermarket, Shen King Han stopped and said, Xiao Chen, come in with me to buy some stuff, will you? Sure, Lin Zikin agreed with a nod and followed her into the supermarket. Once inside, the 2 of them went straight to the back and stopped in front of a shelf. The shelf was filled with women's personal care products. Shen King Han expertly reached for the top shelf and took down a large pack of adult diapers specifically for women. Then, turning to Lin Zikin with cheeks slightly blushing, she whispered, I only wear these at night when I sleep. During the day, I don't wear them at all. Lin Zikin, you've mentioned it before. Shen Qinghan said with a bitter smile, when I was little, my mom always told me I'd grow out of it, that I wouldn't wet the bed after I got older. But up until now, I still wet the bed at night. I have to wear diapers to dare to sleep, and it's really annoying. As she spoke, Shen Qinghan's mood became especially low. Xiao Chen, I feel like I'm disabled, a disabled person who can't hold in their urine. You're not disabled. Lin Zikin looked at her earnestly and said, not being able to hold in your urine is your superpower, it's just that you haven't fully discovered how to use it yet. Superpower. Light returned to Shen Qinghan's eyes, not as dim as before. Yeah, superpower, Lin Zikin said with certainty, your talent for swimming so well is one manifestation of that superpower. Suddenly recalling something, Shen Qinghan looked into Lin Zikin's eyes and asked, then Xiao Chen, you've been so amazing since you were little, do you also have a superpower? I have superpowers just like you, Lin Zikin answered without hesitation. Really? Really? What kind of superpower is it? My superpower is that I have a strong physique and learning abilities. Ah! Shen Qinghan said disappointedly, isn't that just pure talent? Lin Zikin explained, talent is a kind of superpower too, just like your talent for swimming. That makes sense. Shen Qinghan's mood improved considerably, her face full of anticipation. If I really do have a superpower, I wonder what kind it would be. It would definitely be a very powerful superpower, Lin Zikin said with a smile. Let's go, Xiao Chen. Let's check out, Shen Qinghan said with a sweet smile, then turned with the diapers in hand to head towards the checkout counter. When she completely turned around and walked away from Lin Zikin, the sweet smile on her face quickly dimmed. The beaming face she had just a moment ago was still just a brave front. Only now, her acting had improved, and her smile didn't seem as forced as before. She didn't believe that she had any so-called superpower, she felt it was just Lin Zikin's way of comforting her. Compared to having an undiscovered superpower, she felt more like she was cursed. After checking out, they left the supermarket. As they walked past the market, they saw public security officers exterminating rats again. Unlike the last time, this time there was a frenzied man trying to stop the officers from exterminating the rats, running into the middle of the market while crying and shouting. Stop! Stop! Don't kill my brothers! Did you hear that? Stop now! If you keep killing my brothers, I'll fight you all! As he shouted, the man grabbed a broom and lunged forward to drive away the security officers. It turned out that the brothers he was shouting about were the rats scurrying around in the marketplace. Xiao Chen, is this man crazy? He might be mentally ill. He looks so scary. Mental illness is like that. Let's go, we're going home. Xiao Chen and Shen Qinghan had stopped to watch the commotion for a while but left soon after. Shortly after they left, the man causing the disturbance was subdued by the security officers, handcuffed, and put into the back of the security van to be taken back to the station for interrogation. Evening. At home. Xiao Chen and his parents were sitting together having dinner, as usual, while watching the evening news. They saw a news report about a missing person, saying that a young female teacher had disappeared after leaving school last week, and she had not been found up to today. Why is there another young woman missing? Isn't this the fourth one this month? Zhang Wangzhen frowned slightly. Lin Yanzheng corrected her, you're mistaken, it's the fifth. Zhang Wangzhen, feeling puzzled, said, there have been 5 people missing, can't the security department catch the culprit? Xiao Chen didn't speak, listening to his parents' conversation while watching the news on TV. The news anchor said that all 5 missing persons that month were young and beautiful women, advising young and beautiful women to avoid going out at night if possible, and if they must go out, to do so in groups and avoid secluded areas. Xiao Chen, it's not very peaceful outside recently. As a boy, you have to take good care of Han Han and not let her go out alone, got it? Zhang Wangzhen turned to Xiao Chen and instructed him. Xiao Chen, Mom, don't worry, I'll take good care of Han Han. Zhang Wangzhen was still worried and said, now send Han Han a WeChat message, remind her to pay attention to her safety, and remember to tell her to call you along if she's going out. Alright, I'll send it now. After speaking, Xiao Chen took out his phone and sent a WeChat message to Shen King Han, reminding her to be safe. Shanghai City, XX District, XX Street Security Office. In a brightly lit interrogation room. The deranged middle-aged man that Xiao Chen had seen at the marketplace in the afternoon was now being examined by a psychiatrist for his mental state. Outside, 2 security officers were on night duty, keeping watch. Half an hour later, a security officer walked into the interrogation room and asked the psychiatrist, "How does it look, is he a mental patient?" "I'm not sure yet," the psychiatrist shook his head, "I've been trying to communicate with him, but he hasn't said a word, as if he's mute." "He's certainly not mute, he was shouting non-stop at the market earlier," said the security officer with a smile. After speaking, he noticed that the handcuffed middle-aged man's facial muscles started to twitch slightly. And small fine hairs were growing at a visible pace. Seeing this scene, his face turned pale, and he immediately shouted out loud. "Quick, request headquarters to send a mechanically modified human here for backup, the man in the interrogation room is transforming into a giant mutant rat. P.S. Begging for monthly and recommendation tickets." Chapter 66, The Man Who Eats Mice. You killed my brother. Every day in the vegetable market, with rat-catching guns you killed my brother. I demand blood for blood. In the instant that these last words were uttered, the man's body had completely transformed, becoming a rat creature with 8 crimson eyes on its face. By this time, the law enforcement officers were already fully armed, frantically firing powerful guns at the rat person. Unfortunately, the rat person was extremely agile, continuously seeking cover to dodge attacks, making it hard for the bullets to hit him. However, the law enforcement officers weren't really trying to hit him, they just wanted to suppress him, biding time until the mechanically modified humans arrived to clear the scene. This rat person was not too bright and hadn't realized this. He was still hoarsely screaming for vengeance for his brothers, trying to break through the onslaught of bullets with the aim of slaughtering all the law enforcement officers in front of him. "Chief, headquarters responded that the mechanically modified humans are all out on missions, and it will be about 10 minutes before they can send someone to support us. We're running low on ammunition, and I'm afraid we won't last until support arrives," one of the law enforcement team members said in a panic. The law enforcement station he belonged to was only street level, and the ammunition storage inside was so meager that it couldn't sustain constant heavy fire. "Continue with the suppressive fire. I'm going to get the car, and then we all get in the car and lead this rat person to the outskirts, delaying for time until support arrives." After dropping this line, the chief of the law enforcement station hurried off to bring the patrol car. He had realized that this rat person wasn't very sharp, he was singularly focused on killing the law enforcement officers to avenge his deceased rat kin. Based on this, as long as they later drove the patrol car with all the officers toward the outskirts, this not-so-smart rat person would definitely give chase. Soon, the chief of the law enforcement station drove the patrol car over, instructing everyone to get in. Then, with a stomp on the accelerator, he sped towards the outskirts. Sure enough, the rat person immediately gave chase to the car, vowing not to stop until he had killed everyone inside. The chase lasted for about 3 minutes. At that time, the mechanically modified human from the law enforcement headquarters finally arrived. Seeing this, the station chief immediately slammed the accelerator to the floor, throwing off the now somewhat exhausted rat person behind the car and giving the mechanically modified human enough room to act. As soon as the car had outpaced the rat person, the air-hovering mechanically modified human instantly unleashed its full firepower, raining all its equipped ammunition down on the rat person. After expending all its ammunition, it switched off its anti-gravity propulsion and slowly descended, holding a specially made alloy sword as it entered the thick smoke. Then, with a furrowed brow, it discovered that the rat person's form was no longer on the ground. There was only a pitch-black hole, seemingly bottomless, and bloodstains and pieces of flesh scattered around. The rat person had dug a hole and escaped amidst the barrage of ammo. But the good news was, judging from the bloodstains and flesh on the ground, the rat person was definitely seriously injured and probably couldn't have gone far. There was a chance to track him down and eliminate him. Having analyzed this, the mechanically modified human quickly reactivated its anti-gravity propulsion and ascended into the sky, circling like a hawk as it searched for any trace of the rat person. In a village within the city, inside a detached single-family house, Linziken, after finishing his meal and resting for a while, went upstairs to his room to engage in high-intensity training. The training was diverse, no longer limited to basic movements such as push UPS, sit UPS, squats, and pull UPS. Instead, he extended his regimen to include more nuanced exercises. Training fingers, wrists, neck, and so on, systematically exercising every muscle in his body. This training session lasted 4 hours. Linziken felt somewhat tired and thus concluded his workout for the evening. At that moment, he was not very sweaty, nor was his breathing particularly disordered, he was just a little tired. This was the result of the constant training under the principle use it or lose it over the years. His physical strength had grown stronger. He became increasingly resistant to fatigue. Sitting on the ground to rest, Linziken took out his phone and opened the writer's backend to check the data. Having written for over half a month, with a steady daily update of more than 4,000 words, he was now close to 100,000 words. The data was very good, with over 10,000 collections. Most importantly, the reader response was very positive, and many readers said they would definitely support the subscription once the book was on the shelves. The new book still has several recommendations to go, and once those are done, the data could be even better, not to mention how much I could earn in the first month after the launch. Looking at the backend data in the Writer's Assistant app, expectation couldn't help but spread across Linziken's face. Afterwards, he got up, took a set of clean clothes, and went to take a shower. Once he had showered and dried his hair, and seeing that the time was just about right, he turned off the lights and went to bed. Before sleep, remembering that he hadn't checked his physical data in a month, he immediately set an alarm for 3 a.m. on his phone. He planned to go out and check his progress in the middle of the night. 3 a.m. sharp. The phone alarm went off punctually. Linziken was very determined, didn't linger in bed, got straight up, got dressed, and as usual, put on a hat and a mask to cover his face. Then, he quietly left the house with the tools for measuring his data. He made his way expertly, avoiding surveillance cameras. Before long, Linziken arrived at a deserted area on the outskirts, making sure no one was around, and immediately began to test his data. About 10 minutes later, the data came out. Sprinting 100 meters took just 3.43 seconds. He could vertically jump up to 7.22 meters. He could lift a car weighing around 1,750 kilograms with one hand. The progress was quite noticeable. If he could maintain this rate of improvement, he estimated that by next semester, his 100-meter sprint would break the 3-second barrier, vertical jump would surpass 8 meters, and one-handed lift would exceed 2,000 kilograms. All of these achievements were purely through his own physical prowess, without any aid from mechanical modifications or genetic fusion. The progress was too steady. If he could keep improving like this, Linziken felt he would eventually become a saint in flesh and could punch mechanically modified humans and kick genetic integrators. Lost in such thoughts for a while, he soon snapped back to reality, gathered up the measuring tools on the ground, and jogged home. On the way, passing by a suburban garbage dump, he saw someone squatting on the ground, rummaging through trash, seemingly starving and looking for food. On a closer look, it was a man, tattered and covered in blood. A homeless man? Covered in blood, had he been beaten? Looking quite pitiful, he thought about making a call to have the security team come to rescue him. Thinking so, Linziken took out his phone. Just as he was about to call, he suddenly witnessed a shockingly horrific scene. The man in the garbage pile suddenly reached out and grabbed a rat from in front of him, hesitated with a pained expression, then stuffed the rat into his mouth and began to gnaw on it as if it were bread. Under the powerful bite force, the rat was instantly bleeding profusely and died on the spot. P.S. Laying out the begging bowl, asking for monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 67, 67. Ordinary people have it too hard. Brother, I'm sorry. Brother, you have to forgive me, I didn't mean to eat you, I'm just too hungry. Once I'm full, I will make offerings to you every year. The man chewed on the rat meat forcefully, tears of remorse streaming down his contorted face, looking exceptionally eerie. Linziken frowned, realizing something was off about the man. He immediately turned and left, deciding to take a detour and not to go back home by way of the garbage station in front. But just as he turned to leave, the man in the garbage heap sensed his presence, looked up at his retreating figure, and said to the half-eaten rat in his hand, Brother, I don't have to eat you anymore, I can eat people. The man's voice was crazed, but in the silent night, it sounded utterly chilling. At the mention of eating people, Linziken's face turned pale, and he instantly took off running. In just a short second, he had covered nearly 30 meters, quickly putting distance between him and the garbage station. But in the next second, he heard footsteps closing in from behind. Looking back, he saw the man who had been eating the rat catching up with him. The man's face was splitting open with visible speed, revealing many crimson eyes, whilst small tufts of fur were growing out of his exposed skin, rapidly turning into a giant mutant rat. Was it the madman from during the day? Before the man completed his transformation, Linziken recognized him as the one who caused a scene in the vegetable market that day. Flesh, I want to eat meat, I want human flesh, eat human flesh. The man picked up speed, his expression growing more ferocious by the moment. Chasing Linziken from behind frantically while drooling viscously and making a hoarse noise. Seeing the half-human half-rat gaining on him, Linziken knew he couldn't outrun him. So, the moment the man caught up to him, Linziken turned around and kicked forcefully toward the man's chest. There was a loud bang. The unprepared man was kicked into the air, rolling dozens of meters before coming to a stop, lying on the ground, barely alive. Earlier, when he was bombarded with specialized ammunition by the mechanically modified human, he had been gravely injured, which left him extremely weak now, unable to fully transform into a rat man and completely unable to withstand Linziken's full-strength kick. Severely injured from the strike? When he saw the half-man half-rat lying on the ground, motionless except for faint groaning, Linziken thought his eyes were deceiving him for a moment. In his mind, rat men were beings that could withstand gunfire. Even if they were shot to shreds, they could regenerate at a visibly rapid rate, then stand up again at full health and vigor. Whatever the case, he'd finish off the man first. Thinking this, Linziken immediately ran to the side of the road littered with stones, bent down, picked up rocks from the ground, and threw them fiercely at the man lying on the ground, gasping for life. Splurch, splurch, splurch. One stone after another hit the man's body, piercing through his flesh and producing a series of dull thuds. 10, dozens, hundreds. Linziken was cautious, continuing to throw stones at the corpse from afar, making sure not to go one step closer, even though the man's body was already smashed beyond recognition. Only after more than 10 minutes passed, with the man's body turned into mincemeat by the rocks, did Linziken cautiously approach. He wanted to see if the man was truly dead, to see if he could absorb the life essence of the other party. It took nearly half a minute of careful approach for Linziken to find that the man turned into a pile of flesh on the ground was indeed completely dead, and he sighed in relief. Then he squatted down, suppressing his disgust, extended one finger to touch the meaty mess on the ground, and absorbed the life essence contained within it from the giant mutant rat. You have absorbed a trace of the giant mutant rat's life essence. Giant mutant rat compendium, 7%. Linziken's brow furrowed slightly, just a 2% increase? He remembered that the last time he devoured the life source of the giant mutant rat within the rat people, the progress bar for unlocking the atlas jumped by 5%. However, this time, it was only 2%. Why was it so little? Linziken tried hard to recall what had been different between the two devouring events. And indeed, he found a difference. The rat person, who had been blasted into char by the female mechanically modified human's laser, seemed stronger, and he had heard from the now dead head of the security team that this rat person had fused with the Rat King's genes. Perhaps there was a difference in the quality of the life sources of the giant mutant rats that led to the different increases in the progress bar for the atlas after each devouring. Linziken just thought about it briefly and didn't dwell on the question for too long. He quickly and efficiently began to clean up the traces he had left at the scene. After cleaning up for a moment, he immediately left. Time passed by minute. When dawn broke the sky and faint light emerged, the mechanically modified human who had been searching for the rat people's trace appeared above the dump. Then, not far from the dump, he quickly discovered a pool of flesh on the ground. Having dealt with several rat person incidents before, he recognized at a glance that it was the flesh of a rat person. Moreover, it was precisely the one he had been searching for all night. He flew above the flesh. He turned off the anti-airflow propulsion device. The mechanically modified human landed beside the flesh and stared at it for a moment, a question brewing in his mind. Who killed this rat person? In a dimly lit cave somewhere. A burly middle-aged man, carrying a young and beautiful woman, hurriedly walked up to a dim altar and stopped. When he laid the woman on the altar, 8 crimson eyes suddenly lit up in the darkness ahead. Each eye was as large as a soccer ball, emitting a strange red glow and exuding an oppressive feeling. Why is there only one woman? An old voice came from the darkness. Upon hearing the voice, the man immediately knelt down, pressing his forehead to the ground and humbly explained. Rat God, the young women outside are very wary now, not going out at night, and they always go out in groups during the day. They are hard to capture. Then next time, grab a young man, the old voice spoke again. The man devoutly said, I understand, Rat God. No sooner had his words fallen than a piece of wriggling flesh was thrown out from the darkness. At the sight of the flesh, the man showed a look of excitement. He excitedly shouted, Thank you for the blessing of the Rat God, and then hurriedly picked up the flesh and stuffed it into his mouth, devouring it ravenously. At the same time, the young woman lying unconscious on the altar was suddenly wrapped up by a tongue that emerged from the darkness and disappeared. Immediately after, a dull chewing sound of flesh came from the darkness. After an indeterminate amount of time, the old voice resonated in the darkness for the 3rd time. Next time don't capture ordinary people, they taste too bitter and aren't delicious. I want to eat those who are high above, they live in luxury, their meat is tender and delicious. P.S. Holding out a bowl here, asking for your monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 68, 68. Stand up for Shen King Han. Shanghai High School, Class 1 of Grade 1. All morning long, Linziken's mind wasn't on his lessons, he kept thinking about what happened last night. That follower of the Rat God cult was clearly caught by the public security officers during the day, so how did he end up bloodied and eating rats at a garbage dump on the outskirts at night? Had he escaped from prison? And then suffered serious injuries during the escape? That must be it. With these thoughts, Lin Zikin took out his phone to check the local news, hoping to find reports related to the rat-like cult follower from last night. Unfortunately, despite browsing all morning, he found no news related to it. Instead, he stumbled upon a rather eye-catching piece of news about mechanical augmentation. MechGod Corporation announced at this morning's press conference at 9 o'clock that they have developed a brand new mechanical augmentation technology. They are recruiting 500 volunteers for human trials, offering a monthly stipend and lifetime insurance. Warm reminder: this experiment comes with the risks of disability and death. A monthly stipend? Lifetime insurance? But if one were to die during the experiment, could these benefits still be claimed? If not, then this was essentially getting something for nothing. Lin Zikin pondered these trivial matters to himself. Soon enough, the bell signaling the end of class rang, and the morning's lessons were all over. The students rushed out of the classroom, racing towards the cafeteria, afraid of being late and having to queue for a long time to get food. Conversely, Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan were in no hurry at all and remained seated at their desks. Just like in junior high, both of them brought lunch from home, so they didn't need to queue up in the cafeteria like the other students. A few minutes passed. Shen Qinghan put down the pen she was holding, took both her and Lin Zikin's lunch boxes, and stood up to go to the teacher's office to heat up the food. She returned shortly with the warmed lunch boxes. Lin Zikin took his lunch box, eating and scrolling through news on his phone at the same time, determined not to stop until he found news related to the rat god cult follower from last night. Just as he finished eating and was about to take his lunch box to wash it, he finally came across a news article related to the rat god cult follower on his phone. Fresh off the press, it was published by the local official media on their website. Upon opening it, he found the report contained exactly what he wanted to know, discussing the follower of the rat god cult who was eating rats at the garbage dump on the outskirts last night. "Xiao Chen, what are you looking at so intently?" asked Shen Qinghan, who had just come back from washing her lunchbox. Seeing Lin Zikin still at his desk, absorbed in his phone and not even bothering to wash his lunchbox, she grew curious. "I'm looking at news about the rat god cult," Lin Zikin replied casually. Shen Qinghan wasn't particularly interested in the rat god cult. Seeing the oil in Lin Zikin's lunchbox starting to congeal, she picked it up intending to wash it for him. But she hesitated and stopped in her tracks when she saw the two girls who had mocked her as a maid earlier in the corridor outside. She was afraid that if the girls saw her washing Lin Zikin's lunchbox, they would tease her about being Lin Zikin's maid again. Yet after some consideration and internal struggle, she eventually took Lin Zikin's lunchbox and stepped out of the classroom. Although it was hard to be ridiculed as Lin Zikin's maid, that was simply others' opinion, not Lin Zikin's. She could pretend not to hear it and shouldn't take it too seriously. That's what she thought, but when she actually passed by those girls with Lin Zikin's lunchbox in hand, she was still afraid of hearing the word maid. Fortunately, that didn't happen, and she didn't hear any mockery from the girls as she walked past. However, after she had gone some distance, those two girls in the corridor started to gossip about her. "See, I told you she's Lin Zikin's personal maid. Now she's even washing his lunchbox for him. She's really diligent, isn't she? To be a cut above the rest, one must endure the greatest hardships. With her martial arts ability being so weak, if she doesn't put in the effort to win over the master, she won't last in the elite class. Who are you calling a maid?" Suddenly, a voice rang out in front of the two girls. Both were startled, having not noticed anyone approaching them. "No, nothing, you heard wrong." Upon recognizing Lin Zikin, one of the girls hurriedly defended herself. The other girl remained silent, bowing her head, not daring to meet Lin Zikin's gaze. Lin Zikin looked at the two girls in front of him. One was named Wen Yuntung. The other, Chu Yuxi. Both of their grades ranked at the bottom of the class, just slightly better than Shen Qinghan's. He didn't say much to them, just calmly stated, "In the future, I don't want to hear you speaking ill of Shen Qinghan again. The speaker was calm, but those listening were anything but. The girls thought to themselves that it was over, they had offended Lin Zikin, and high school would be ruined for 3 years. Furthermore, if you hear anyone else speaking ill of Shen Qinghan, please relay what I just said to them. After dropping that line, Lin Zikin turned and went back to the classroom. Watching his retreating figure, both girls breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that from now on, they definitely couldn't mock Shen Qinghan as they had before. Otherwise, if they offended Lin Zikin, life at Shanghai High School would likely become very difficult. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, the end of class bell rang, bringing the afternoon's lessons to a close. On the way home, Lin Zikin thought for a moment and eventually turned to Shen Qinghan to ask, "You've been very down lately, is it because you heard people talking badly about you?" "That did happen, but it's really okay, I'm not down or anything." Shen Qinghan feigned indifference. Lin Zikin spoke gently, "If you encounter anything that upsets you, you can talk to me about it. We've been childhood friends, we should have no secrets from each other." Shen Qinghan nodded, "Yes, I will." After these words, the two walked on in silence for a while. Close to home, Lin Zikin asked, "Does it feel like a lot of pressure to always rank last in class?" "It is quite a bit," Shen Qinghan muttered, her lips quivering slightly with a hint of helplessness, "but physical talent is predetermined, and no matter how hard I try, I can't keep up with the rest of the class." Lin Zikin disagreed. Physical talent may be predetermined, true, but martial arts techniques are not. Your physical talent is close to that of Wen Yuntung and Chu Yuxi. If your martial arts techniques far exceed theirs, then you can defeat them on the martial stage. Can that really work? It can, Lin Zikin affirmed confidently. From now on, I'll give you special training 3 times a week, specifically to improve your martial arts techniques. By the end of the term at the latest, you'll be able to defeat the 2 of them on the martial stage. Hearing Lin Zikin's words, Shen Qinghan's eyes, which had been somewhat dim, suddenly brightened. She didn't want to continue being last in class anymore. As long as she could tear off the label of being the absolute bottom of the class, even if people still said that she got in through backdoor connections, it would be a lot more bearable for her. P.S. Begging bowl out, seeking monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 69, Naval Commander. Your punching angle is too high, lower it a bit, that way you can exert more force. Your legs are clamped too tightly, spread them out a bit. You also need to adjust your stance. Don't face your opponent straight on, but at a slight angle. It was Saturday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at Shen Qinghan's house. After finishing his training at home, Lin Zikin came over to give Shen Qinghan a special lesson, patiently instructing her martial arts techniques. Shen Qinghan was extremely serious about her learning, doing exactly as Lin Zikin instructed. Feeling that the issues had been mostly corrected, Lin Zikin said to her, "Come on, let's put it into practice, attack me with all your strength." "Okay, here I come." With that said, Shen Qinghan propelled herself forward with a strong push from her calf, quickly rushing towards Lin Zikin. She was well aware of how strong Lin Zikin was, so she didn't hold back at all and attacked with full force. Smack! Lin Zikin caught her incoming fist and said with an approving face, "Not bad, the punching angle is very standard, and the force you exerted is much greater than before." Smack! Lin Zikin caught her sweeping leg and patiently corrected her, "The posture for your sweep is incorrect, don't clamp your legs so tightly before the sweep, space them out a bit. Now, using the correction I just made, try the same move again." "Alright." Smack! 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 With a series of blows from punches and kicks echoing around them. Before they knew it, more than 2 hours had passed by. After such extensive training, Shen Qinghan was completely exhausted, sitting on the ground drenched in sweat and panting. But she didn't find it tiresome at all, instead, she felt incredibly fulfilled. Because, after over 2 hours of special training with Lin Zikin, she could clearly feel her martial arts strength had improved. If before her martial arts strength was a 75, now it was at least an 80. Xiao Chen, I think 3 times a week isn't enough, can we have special training every day? Shen Qinghan wanted to defeat Wen Yuntung and Chu Yuxi on the martial stage as soon as possible and rip off the label of being ranked last in the whole class from herself. Lin Zikin shook his head and said, no need, 3 times a week is already a lot, you wouldn't be able to handle it if it were every day. Shen Qinghan thought that made sense, alright then, 3 times a week it is. At this moment, the sound of a WeChat voice message notification rang out. Lin Zikin answered the voice call, and soon Zhang Wangzhen's voice came through, saying that dinner was almost ready and to come over for the meal. Shen Jianyi and Su Meng, both being high school class advisors, were often too busy to come home and cook, usually having to settle for the school canteen. Under such circumstances, the couple would have Shen Qinghan go to Lin Zikin's house for meals. And today, the couple was too busy to come home to make dinner. After ending the voice chat, Lin Zikin turned to Shen Qinghan and said, you're covered in sweat, go take a shower. After that, we'll head over for dinner. Okay, I'll go now. Having said that, Shen Qinghan sat on the floor and started taking off her shoes and socks, getting ready to go to the bathroom for a shower. Xiao Chen, it's so strange, other people's socks smell after they exercise and sweat, but mine don't smell at all. Shen Qinghan sniffed the sock she had taken off and then handed it to Lin Zikin, saying, smell it, see if it's true. Smell what the heck? Lin Zikin's mouth twitched slightly, not giving Shen Qinghan's sock even a glance. Seeing his twitching mouth, Shen Qinghan playfully laughed and said, just kidding, I'm not that weird to make you smell my socks. If only you could be this whimsical at school as well. That's impossible, I only act like this around you. Alright, go take a shower, or my mom will call again soon to hurry you. I'm going now. After leaving those words behind, Shen Qinghan got up to take a shower. Watching her departing figure, Lin Zikin slipped into deep thought. Whether it was the inability to hold urine from childhood, the aquatic talent that exceeded ordinary people, or the sweat that didn't smell bad but was even slightly fragrant. All of these unique aspects were related to water. Why was her body like this? What secrets lay within? As he wondered, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out and saw a notification from the novel website's editor, stating that his book would be going live for paid access next Wednesday. Lin Zikin replied, got it, and then opened the Writer's Assistant app to check the novel's statistics. An update for a month, 150,000 words written, and over 20,000 readers had added it to their favorites. The data was quite impressive, showing promise of excellence. Hoping that the performance would soar after going live, he wished to earn more manuscript fees, aspiring to unlock the ferocious Great Eagle album as soon as possible. With that thought, Lin Zikin posted a notice to inform his readers that the book would go live next Wednesday. Afterwards, he logged out of the author's backend and started browsing the news on his phone. After many days of effort by the Public Security Department, the number of rats in the city area has significantly decreased, earning the praise of the general public. Ji Shen Group has declared on its official website that it will treat, free of charge, a once genius girl with mechanical talents who has become physically disabled due to premature mechanical modifications. Capital University Genius successfully integrates exotic beast gene of the thousand-thread spider, breaking the university's record for the youngest person to undergo a second genetic fusion. Seeing the words Capital University Genius, Lin Zikin's first thought was of the prodigy from capital city of yesteryear. He clicked on it and indeed it was the same person. About this, he felt a bit surprised. He had looked into the genius's information before, who was only a year and a half older than him, meaning they hadn't quite reached 18 this year. Under normal circumstances, most people would have to wait until they were adults to undergo genetic fusion. Otherwise, the body wouldn't be able to handle the dominance of the exotic beast gene, and mutations were likely to occur. However, this prodigy from Capital City, now tagged as Capital University Genius, had undergone a second genetic fusion before turning 18. Such genetic talent was truly formidable. Musing on this, Linzikin clicked on the video embedded in the news. Watching the Capital City Genius shooting webs and swinging around the buildings like Spider-Man was pretty cool. In the meantime, Shen Qinghan came out from the shower. Now her hair was slightly damp, her fair face flushed with a hint of red, wearing a light pink skirt that just covered her knees, showing off her slender and snowy white calves, looking elegant and graceful. Xiao Chen, is your book going live? While toweling off her hair, Shen Qinghan looked down at her phone and saw the notification Lin Zikin had just posted about his book going live. Lin Zikin responded, "Yeah, the editor said it would go live next Wednesday at noon. Then I'll go leave you a good review." Having said that, Shen Qinghan sprang into action, logging into over a dozen of her alts and started to act as a one-woman army in the review section of Lin Zikin's book. Lin Zikin opened the author's backend and saw that in less than 5 minutes, Shen Qinghan had already switched through 17 accounts, leaving nearly 20 good reviews. Dang, what kind of army commander was she? P.S. Bowls out, seeking monthly tickets and recommendation votes. Chapter 70, 70. Next time for sure. Time flew by, and before I knew it, it was next Wednesday. Lin Zikin's novel hit the shelves that day, and he splurged all his drafts, updating 50,000 words in one go. The readers were thrilled, praising him as a writing machine. After that, he maintained a daily update of 10,000 words, continuing to delight his readers. The readers showed their support through votes and gifts. With the dual boost from regressing if not progressing and his gifted talents, after a month of writing exercises, he could now easily achieve 10,000 words per hour. Just spending an hour a day on writing wouldn't affect his daily training regime and was acceptable. Xiao Chen, your book's performance is truly impressive. If you can keep updating 10,000 words every day, and if the plot doesn't nosedive, you can expect to earn about 50,000 in manuscript fees in the first month. Once the word count increases, earning 100,000 a month won't be a problem. Lin Yanzheng said with a beaming smile on his face. Excited, Zhang Wangzhen said, "My Xiao Chen is truly a genius of all trades. Still in high school, and already about to out-earn his parents." With a sense of inferiority, Lin Yanzheng reminisced, "I think back to my first book, which did get published, but it only had a handful of subscribers. Toiling away at writing every month, I could only earn a few hundred in manuscript fees." At this moment, both husband and wife couldn't help but be filled with emotion. A genius indeed is remarkable, achieving far beyond the average person in any field. And the effort they spend to achieve such success is perhaps less than 1/10 of what others would expend. Xiao Chen, although you're making good money from writing novels right now, your focus must still be on your studies. Don't let it affect your academics, understand? You must listen to your father on this. In this world, no matter how wealthy an ordinary person is, they can't compare to a genetic integrator who has broken free from human constraints, the couple said earnestly. Lin Zikin nodded, "Mom and Dad, don't worry, I know my priorities." After speaking, he thought to himself, 50,000 in a month, or even 100,000. With this income, I won't have to worry about funds to unlock the Exotic Beast album anymore. I should update more while the novel is still new to ensure the manuscript fees for the first 2 months are enough to unlock the Ferocious Great Eagle album. With this in mind, for the following half a month, besides his daily training and helping Shen Qinghan with special training, Lin Zikin's main concern was the performance of his novel. The better the novel did, the more manuscript fees he would earn, and the sooner he could unlock the Ferocious Great Eagle album. To earn extra manuscript fees, sometimes he even wrote on his phone during class. He planned to unlock the Ferocious Great Eagle album first, then revert to his original study schedule. Days went by, one after the other. On this particular day, during martial arts class, Han Yuanfeng organized an in-class sparring session to check the students' progress. Lin Zikan, as always, overpowered everyone, leaving them no chance to fight back. While earning $888, he also gained several dozen points of completion experience for his survival of the fittest achievement. In contrast, Shen Qinghan still couldn't beat anyone, consistently ranking last in class. However, unlike before, she was now able to put up a fight. In the last sparring session, when facing Wen Yuntung, who ranked second to last, she was kicked off the martial stage in less than 3 seconds, ending the battle promptly. But this time, she managed to hold on for nearly 3 minutes against Wen Yuntung. It wasn't 3 minutes of defense like a turtle. It was a 3-minute exchange of attacks with Wen Yuntung. She landed several punches and kicks. Seeing this, Han Yuanfeng praised her for her significant improvement, encouraging her to keep it up. Time passed by the second. Just before class ended, Han Yuanfeng said to the class, "In a month, we'll challenge the strongest key class of the second year. Our goal is to take down everyone except the top 3 in their class. Do we have the confidence to do that?" "Yes." The students replied in unison, their voices loud and clear. Pleased with the answer, Han Yuanfeng wore a satisfied smile. Afterward, he called over the 4 strongest students in the class and patiently explained to them the high-end combat power in the top-ranked second-year class. Soon, the bell signaling the end of class rang. Lin Zikan didn't leave school but returned to the classroom with Shen Qinghan, Li Chuxin, and He Yu. Today, it was their group's turn to be on duty, so they had to go back and clean the classroom. "You and your teammates cleaned the blackboard together, cumulative tasks completed +1. You and your teammates swept the floor clean, cumulative tasks completed +1. You and your teammates arranged the desks neatly, cumulative tasks completed +1. Damn, finally finished cleaning up." As he arranged the last desk in the classroom, He Yu exclaimed as if a heavy burden had been lifted off him. Then he couldn't help but complain, "Come on, Ziai Chen, you're too responsible. Other groups just sweep the floor and call it a day, and here you are mopping and arranging desks too, making us work every time." Li Chuxin gave him a disdainful look, "If you're so reluctant, then don't do it. No one is forcing you." He Yu, with his legs crossed and looking like a boss, said, "That's not okay. The 4 of us are a team. We either all do it, or none of us do it. I don't want to be a lone wolf. Lin Zikan, this is on me. I've made everyone work harder because of personal reasons. To make it up, I'll treat you all to bubble tea later." Upon hearing this, He Yu immediately stopped complaining and became all smiles. "Ziai Chen, no, foster father, how can I accept that?" Lin Zikan simply smiled and did not speak. Then, with a thought, he looked into the void to check the progress of the social animal achievement. Achievement, in the premise of cooperation with multiple people, complete tasks cumulatively 1000 times. Reward, acquire biometric attribute social animal. Cumulative tasks completed, 608/1000. Only 392 to go. If he kept diligent, he could complete it in another month. I wonder what the effect of the social animal biometric attribute is. Lin Zikan pondered silently as he looked at the text in front of him. Just at that moment, Li Chuxin, who was fine just a moment ago, suddenly started crying on the desk, softly sobbing. Shen Qinghan, upon seeing this, asked with concern, "Chu Xin, why are you crying?" Li Chuxin raised her head, wiping tears as she spoke, "My mom just messaged me on WeChat to tell me that my cat, the one that could do backflips, accidentally fell from the balcony and died. Woo. It's just a cat, is it worth crying over?" He Yu said, clearly not understanding. Li Chuxin glared at him in response, someone heartless like you will never understand the bond between a cat and its owner. Ah, right, I wouldn't understand, He replied, taking out a tissue and handing it to her. Stop crying, here, wipe your tears. Li Chuxin took the tissue, her eyes red from crying, somewhat surprised. I didn't expect a guy who's always blustering to hand a tissue to a girl to wipe her tears. Quite the gentleman. After saying this, she took the tissue to wipe her tears, but as she did, she felt something was off. She looked at He with a puzzled face. Why does your tissue smell odd? That's one I had left over from the toilet this morning, He replied frankly. Ugh! Li Chuxin went from sad to disgusted in an instant. When they parted ways, He, his face sporting a handprint, cheerfully said to the three of them. By the way, my family's first martial arts gym in Shanghai City is going to have its grand opening in a few days. You three have to come and show some support. I'll give you the Supreme VIP membership cards for free. Definitely next time X3. PS, begging for monthly and recommendation votes.